All right, everybody. This is Dan Wynn here, and I'm with Liz Olegario with Manalei Media. Uh, Thanks for joining us, Liz.
Yeah, happy to be here with you, Dan.
Okay, so um, we recently did a trademark for you for Manalei Media, and we got it. But
Mhm.
as I learn more about your business, um, actually, let's take a step back and tell me a little bit how you got into what you're doing.
So a little bit about how I got to Manalei Media. I officially started Manalei Media about 1 year ago, and that's when I got the trademark created. But I've actually been doing marketing consulting for several years now, and it just kind of happened to fall into my lap. I was doing corporate marketing at PayPal and SalesForce, and I just had people asking me like, "Hey, will you consult us on the side?" And so it's kind of my side thing, and I ended up loving it. And what really drove me to do it is I had two babies, and I just wanted to kind of be my own entrepreneur and just help smaller businesses. What I realized that I love the corporate marketing side, but at the same time, I really like helping like small, medium, and large businesses as well with the marketing because I see the impact and it helps actually create more livelihood in their family lives. So like an entrepreneur, when they create a business, they might start with something small, but when it thrives, they can help their daughter go to ballet class, or they can help their mom's mortgage, or they can help with a lot of things in their family's lives. And so that what kind of drove me to create a marketing consulting business, because I think it helps those type of businesses more, and I'm passionate about it. So I live and breathe it. Yeah.
Um, So you did mention you have a background in corporate marketing. So can you tell us some of the similarities and differences working for PayPal and Salesforce versus maybe your small and mom and pop um, clients?
Well, the number one thing is budget, obviously. Corporate budgets are, they're much larger. The creativity can be as much as you can dream of. But in a small mom and pop, budgets are limited, and there is a lot more hesitation going forward with certain types of things because they're unsure about it. But it's also because they don't understand the impact. The corporate marketing world, they understand that marketing dollars will translate into more profit, or getting more engagement from their customers, or putting their brand out there, and creating more brand consistency. But with a small mom and pop, they might be just kind of scared in the beginning. So I kind of help lead through that process, and making it a little bit easier. And then there's definitely a bigger impact on the mom and pop side too. So I enjoy that side of
Okay.
marketing.
Okay. And so I know, with marketing and branding, I think at the end of the day, we all want more sales and want more clients and more revenue. How are you able to kind of attach, that particular result to marketing, right? If I'm investing in you to do my marketing, um, how does that translate into more sales for me?
So there are different aspects of marketing. Some people think marketing is actually sales or only advertising. And I work on kind of like all gamuts of it. So there's like advertising, sales, but there's also the branding side, the
Mhm.
storytelling side, the design side. And advertising dollars, there's obviously conversion rates that we can do. And then on the sales side, there's business development, whether you're B2B or B2C. So it's developing that relationship with people if you're especially in B2B. But then on the branding and design side, there's aesthetics. There is, we'll go back to the word consistency. So it's something that's recognizable. So for instance, like if you have a visual element to your company that people can recognize over and over, or perhaps you have a slogan, or you have something that's trademarked that is very personal to your company, then people remember it. So once they need your service or your product, it's on top of their mind. So that brand recognition has a lot of value behind it, and that's what we kind of create. So we create, for instance, like we create brand guidelines for companies, and that's really the foundation and the basis of all that they do in their company. So whatever sales call you make, whatever marketing collateral you create, whatever advertisement or whatever social media post you put out there, it's all within the brand guidelines, and it's really to help drive a cohesive story.
Okay, then let's talk a little bit more about that. So when I hear brand guidelines, all I remember is looking up maybe Nike or some of the bigger brands is, hey, if you use our logo, it has to be this particular way, this color, this shape, no bigger than this
Yep.
size, no bigger small size. But I'm sure it's more than that. So can you tell me a little bit more about brand guidelines?
Sure. So when we create brand guidelines, it's really understanding, well, one, if we're creating the logo as well. So for instance, like if the logo is being created, we're going to create something that is simple, that can be used on different types of mediums now. So we have digital, we have paper, you have signage, you have stores. There's all these different type of mediums that you have to apply it to now. And we also create the colors, as you can see, like, and then, for instance, like if we have like a blue and yellow logo color, then we kind of show that, hey, you shouldn't be mixing orange into the equation, or green. But when it really comes down to it, we actually talk about the mission, the vision, what is the purpose of the company. Perhaps you have a cause behind the company that you want to tell the story of. So behind the brand is also the story. Mm-hmm. So how do we convey that story through all of your marketing materials or social media? And it's really through engagement. So we kind of define the mission and the vision first, and the purpose, the value propositions, what makes you different from other companies. So for instance, like if you have a company and you have 20,000 other competitors, what's going to be your differentiator in this massive sea of same companies? Mm-hmm. So we kind of make that unique mark, and then show how you can keep that consistent look over and over, so that it doesn't look unprofessional. Some maybe have like a finance manager who's not really a graphic person, and that mm-hmm. person puts the logo on top of a really ugly background for some reason. You don't want that. So that's part of the branding guideline. We also come up with slogans and with names. So if there's going to be some type of slogan that you can put underneath your name, kind of coming up with something that speaks to the audience, and also kind of speaks to the core of the mission and the vision of the company.
Okay, all right. And so, as we talk a little bit more about what you're doing, when people think of marketing, what should be they thinking of? We talked a little bit before we started, and you mentioned three things that people should know.
So when it comes to branding specifically, then we talk about consistency. Consistency is key. Everything you have, from your packaging to your paper products to your website to your social media, they should all be consistent with the same branding, so that people can recognize your look and your feel, what your company is about. The second thing is staying authentic to what you believe in. So if you have a mission and a vision for your company, stick to it. So if you believe that your company can make a difference, share that story and be authentic about it, because you want to trust your story. And the only way you can do that is really just, speaking from the heart. So whenever we're doing marketing, like I always think that we should always speak from your gut, and just kind of believe in what you're saying, because then people kind of get a feeling for your company culture. Another aspect of marketing is always putting the customer first. And I know a lot of people say that in customer service, and it's a very common way of thinking, but in marketing, it really is all about the customer. So it's not just about customer service, but it's also understanding their needs, their wants, their pain points, what is really driving them to come to work in the morning. Why do they need their product? Maybe they don't have enough time to do something. So let's drive a story of how we can apply our product into their lives. And it comes from more of like an authentic place. And we also had some like design elements, but we can talk about that later, because it's kind of not as
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you talked about, story and storytelling, and someone once told me, facts tell, stories sell, right?
Mhm.
And so talk a little bit more about how you go about crafting, the client's story, and what, how deep do you go with the client in trying to uncover, peeling back the onion, of why they do what they're doing, and how many layers deep do you go, and what are some compelling elements of a good story that helps create a strong brand?
Um, well, I'll give you an example. I think that's the easiest way to go. I have one client, and they have um, many competitors, like 20,000 competitors. And so they're thinking like, how do we differentiate ourselves? And it's an electronics company. And how do you make electronics sexy? It's very difficult. They're kind of like microchips and things that go into your cell phone or your computer. Like how do you make these little tiny little things, interesting to people, if you're not technical, especially. So we kind of dived into it, and I do get onto like a very personal level with the owners and the managers, the vice presidents, et cetera, and with also the team members that are handling the customer calls every day, because they're the ones that are very client facing. And we kind of go through this whole session of, what are you here for? What is your real purpose here, and why are you helping people every day? So, for instance, like we found out that, what first, like you see a small component, it doesn't look like anything, but then you really think about the impact that it makes on families and like people's work lives, et cetera. For instance, like on the Boeing, I think it's the 7047, whichever plane that's not doing very well
Okay,
right
yeah,
now,
737
right?
Max.
Yeah, the 737, there you go. Something might have gone wrong. There might have been a component that went wrong in that plane, and it might have been a provider of that component.
Mhm.
And now all of the planes have, caused a big problem in the industry. And, this client provides things for airplanes just like that. So what makes the difference? It's the quality. It's making a difference of like, hey, we care so much about the quality that goes into these large aircraft that we put our heart and soul into our lab. So our tagline is something related to, even the smallest things can make the biggest difference. And we coined that because not only do they make a difference in their community, but in, somebody's holding a cell phone, they're calling their daughter because they need to go pick them up from school. So it's kind of like creating that story, the backstory behind those components. So what's the human element?
Mhm.
So that's kind of how deep we go, and then just kind of like getting to know what drives the owners at the end of the day. And then that translates into like the advertising, and then the stories you tell to social media, or you tell that through whatever you're, even through the calls that you have on the phone with your customer. So like it makes a difference in their lives, and that's why they always come back to the company, and it's that repeat customer and the trust.
Okay, all
So we
right.
kind of help define that. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic, because I think um, a lot of uh, clients would, they may know, particularly on the surface, why they're in particular business. Like, hey, I've always want to serve this particular clientele. But I think you've mentioned this a couple of times in our conversation. Is like it actually goes deeper than that. It's so they can have more time to spend with their families. They get more time to take their daughter to ballet, or their son's baseball game, or what have you. So it's very interesting. Our why is much deeper than probably what we think, as we try to understand why we're in particular business today. So let's talk about, maybe when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I don't know anything about sales and marketing. Um, I'm a clean slate. Um, how can you help me?"
On the sales and marketing side.
yeah, let's say marketing and branding. Sorry, I know we're talking about that today. So yeah, I'm imagine I'm a new customer, and hey Liz, my business is okay. I think we can take it to the next level. What can you help me do? What can you help me do?
I think it really depends on where you're at on the marketing spectrum. Some people have had marketing teams before working on their company. Perhaps they've never had a marketing person ever. I've worked with companies where they've gone for 10, 20, 30 years without ever having a marketing person. I think it's amazing. Those like 20, 30-year-old companies, and you never had a marketing person, like you did something right through the customer service, but then nobody knows about them.
Mm-hmm.
And so now how do we take it to, bring it to the digital
Mm-hmm.
side, or creating the branding behind it? Maybe their logo needs an update. So it's really first assessing like where the company is at right now. So for instance, like if you want to go digital, then I help bring companies to the digital world, like a new website. If you need a new e-commerce website, we do a lot of those. The branding guidelines, if you want to refresh your brand or kind of create a new look, or just kind of create a new outreach. So say you have like an outdated logo and you want to come up with something more trendy, something that will apply to more to millennials or more to like older people. And then we do everything from the packaging and then marketing strategy. And I coach marketing teams to see how they can also grow themselves. If they don't have, say, like a CMO or something, I kind of come in and I coach them. It's like, okay, so this is how you can manage your team a little bit more efficiently, because the marketing world is a little bit, there are challenges in itself. So how do you do project management? And then from there, at the end of the day, our whole goal is to convert more customers, to drive more profit. And so all the little day-to-day things, creating something that's creative, and resonating with the customer so that we can put it into like social media ads or Google ads, or maybe we need to do like banner ads, video marketing, for instance, or photography. We do all that.
Okay, that's fantastic. So you did mention, some of the digital marketing aspects that you're doing, and I know with digital marketing, it's gets easier to measure client acquisition costs. So, but for maybe a service-based business that you've worked with, I mean, in compared to like an e-commerce store, right? We can easily calculate how much it costs to acquire a particular customer. But with a service-based business where it's more like sometimes it's based on referrals, sometimes it's ads. How do you calculate costs, client acquisition costs on maybe an offline business?
Well, we have a formula to calculate the cost acquisition, the customer acquisition cost, and we compare that. We call it the CAC. We take that formula and then we compare it to how much profit you're making to see if it's like inefficient. So we kind of compare that cost to whatever they're making and see where the gap is. And then we kind of see, are they spending enough on marketing to convert, or are they spending too much, too little? And then how do we do promotions based on that? So I do like a promotion strategy based on that customer acquisition cost. Or we kind of do, like you can afford, if it costs you, say in the B2B world, in the service world, it is much more expensive to convert a customer because there's a lot of conversations. It might cost, from a couple hundred to several $1,000s. It might be $10,000, $50,000 to actually acquire one really large customer, or a good customer, right? So how do you calculate all that? So we kind of put that all into the equation and say, okay, if you can spend, $10,000 on acquiring one new customer, maybe we can do this digital ad and only spend 200. So those are kind of like minor things that we kind of do on the marketing strategy side.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about acquiring new clients, but us in the business world, we know it's it's cheaper to maintain a client than to get a new client. So what are some of the ideas that you work with clients? It's like, okay, now we've already acquired them. Here's are some ideas that we can to keep selling to them and, increase the lifetime value of the customer for our company.
I mean, there's so many ideas that we can, to drive business with our current customers. So say you're established already. We have referral programs, we have loyalty programs. We have just kind of like giving our customers that VIP service because they're so dedicated to our business. So we should dedicate some more time to them. Mm-hmm. And they also refer to us, those types of people also are in circles of people with the same likeness, I guess, who are also entrepreneurs or needing the same service. Like say, if you need a skincare for some reason, like you have that one customer who's going to tell all their friends and she's going to be super excited, like, hey, I got like the most amazing facial, I'm going to share it with the world. You want to take care of that one client.
Okay, yeah, this is one of the things I've been learning a lot more about is, stepping into a 5-star hotel is like way different from stepping on a 2 or 3-star hotel, and you get much better service with what you're supposed to, I would say.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. And so one of the cool things I liked about work having to as a customer with some of these other companies is like the customer service, they're empowered to help the client. It's not like, hey, I have to go talk to my manager, give me a second. They're like, hey, okay, this is what we can do and this is what we can do, and the managers give them the power to and flexibility to offer credits, offer refunds, next day shipping, whatever it is. And so you did mention you work with a customer service. Tell me a little bit more about how the people on the front lines really affect the overall branding of a particular company.
It's really about making the front line happy too. I also, I actually studied HR in college and music, and then that actually got tabled, and I got into marketing because that's just kind of where my life went. But on the human front, the people front, the marketing, the branding comes with, what kind of story are they telling the customer, right? So like in marketing, we also have, our product marketing where, you have to put the product information, kind of make the elevator pitch so that the salespeople can talk about it. Because not all salespeople will know what to say. So in marketing, we're kind of the ones who craft that product description so that it's a little bit more marketable. But at the same time, what makes them happy is, for instance, like if they can solve a specific problem, if some market research, we find out from the owners, like, hey, we're actually solving a very specific problem, let's go help those customers solve those problems. So we share that information with the sales team, and then that in turn, the sales team is like, well, hey, there's another opportunity for us to help you with something else. So not only is the end customer happy, the customer service people are able to kind of do more in their work because at the end of the day, they have sales numbers to hit too. Right. And so in marketing, we kind of help that script to help them drive their sales, and it's kind of all like one ecosystem.
Right. So it's very interesting. I kind of went through this recently, and I called in Feister. Feister makes the faucets. So you spend a lot of time, right? So like I was missing a part. So I called them and said, hey, I'm missing a part. And they have lifetime warranty. So like, I guess you could turn it back in anytime. But I called them and said, hey, missing a part. Okay, we'll send that out 2-day shipping. And like say 5 days later, it didn't come yet. And I called them back and they said, okay, we'll send it out 2-day shipping.
Hey, I don't have a sink. I don't have a faucet.
Right? And then I told him like, hey, this is like the second time I called, and you promised me 2-day shipping before. The second time I called, they actually said they would send it regular, so it'll get to me like 5 to 7 days. I was like, wait a minute, you promised me 2 days. You didn't ship it the first time, and now I have to call back. I don't want to call back again. And so my experience was you know, branding Feister as a lifetime warranty was good, but they didn't have the back end to support that particular, yeah, the training. And so like the first call was good. It was just like, okay, we'll send out 2 days, but the supporting calls after that, you know, really didn't give me much faith into the particular brand. And so I think, you know, you kind of touched on a really good point is like, you know, you work with your customer service teams. It's like they have to be able to be empowered or be trained properly to, hey, I know we screwed up. Let me send it. Let me authorize it right away and ship it out right away. So you get 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we work with, say, the captain of the team, right? We are working with like the CEO or like kind of the leadership, and the leadership has to somehow translate that and empower the rest of their team members. So how do we do that? You know, and it's really coming in and kind of making everything cohesive, making it something that sometimes the executive team has no idea how to translate that or how to empower people. So we kind of give like a toolkit of like, hey, you know, maybe do this, this, and this, so that your team will have the buy-in. Because at the end of the day, you know, the leaders don't do it themselves. It's the customer facing people who are making the everyday things happen. So we have to give them those tools. Like, you know, like we can create branding guidelines from the top all we want, but if no one implements it, there's no point.
Right. Yeah. You know, our conversation reminds me of, have you ever ordered from Zappos.com?
I've never ordered from them, but I'm very familiar with their website.
Okay, right. So I don't know if you're familiar with the story about with the CEO. His name is Tony Hsieh, and if you order it, the you know, he created that well, he was brought in to help, you know, kind of basically fix it. And one of the things he did was um, fix kind of the gap between buying shoes online and buying shoes in person. And so he brought in, hey, free 2-day shipping and free returns. And if you actually, he wrote a book called Delivering Happiness. And if you get a chance, you can take the tour of his headquarters in Las Vegas. And what's cool about one thing I learned was every person at that company will rotate and do frontline work too. So everyone in the company will have an experience working customer service and taking calls. And I think, you know, that's a really good way to show how you know, even if you're a warehouse guy, you can understand what it's like, you know, being actually the person taking orders and being with unruly clients and
Yeah.
and things like
I mean, it's really the empathy, right? When it really comes to the customer service, like customer service people, they have such good empathy for people. That's how they keep happy in their job. But if a leader is not empathetic, has no care for, it's like, oh, that there's an angry customer, you know, whatever, for them. That's going to be the attitude that kind of like kills the spirit and doesn't really like kind of keep your brand culture, like in the internal and the external culture, you know, thriving.
Okay. All right. So, is there anything else that, you know, we should know about branding from you?
I don't know, keep it simple.
Okay.
Keep it short, keep it simple, keep your logo simple, because it will be more impressionable. Some people get really fancy, you know, maybe they put too much into it. They have like 10 different colors because they think like we can do full color now, and we should definitely do that. You know, it doesn't have to be. Keep it, you know, KISS, right? And it definitely applies to branding as well, because you have 3 seconds to get a customer's attention and you have to hold it. And especially in this digital world, it's getting even shorter. So, you know, the more simple your messaging is, the better.
Okay. And then last question, kind of very specific. Do you subscribe to kind of the notion that certain colors convey a certain message?
Yes, I love colors.
Okay.
I absolutely love colors. I love the psychology behind colors, but I think there's also barriers that you can break with colors. So, you know, it never has to really tie into something very specific, but, um, you know, I think there are color trends that customers will, you know, be more attracted to.
Mhm.
So if it's a youthful company, you might want to have more millennial colors, and really understand those trends. Or, you know, if you have like an older group of people, like maybe your target audience are baby boomers, you want to understand that the colors that they are or were attracted to, because they might be more, you know, receptive towards it. So yes, definitely, I love colors, and I love finding those type of color bases that are, you know, for specific age groups and target groups.
Okay, all right. Hey, so
Yeah.
we're here with Liz Olegario from Manalei Media. Where can we find you?
You can find me on manaleymedia.com. And we're actually rebranding ourselves. So yeah, you'll find us there, and we'll be continuing to grow our digital footprint. We're so busy working on other people's marketing that we haven't had like built our own library of items, but you know, you'll find us soon.
Yeah, someone told me the plumber's bathroom is always the worst.
Yeah, and that's, you know, like we're definitely working on it. My team is working on it now that we finally have, you know, we've been in official business for 1 year now, and we've been very blessed to have grown so fast. So now, you know, after working on so many other people's, it's finally
All
time to
right.
start working on ours.
All right. Hey, thanks, Liz, for hanging out with us. You can find her at ManaleiMedia.com, and she'll have all her new social media and website up and running pretty soon. So if you're looking
Okay.
about for branding, marketing, and sales, go ahead and check her out. And hey, thanks, Liz, for hanging out with us.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Okay.
So fun.